If you do not already know, the NCAA just released their 2021 wrestling brackets. We're going to be going into that as well as some of these crazy seedings that the committee came up with, which is completely whacked, but also some of the best matchups that could go down during the championships. Let's get into the video. So first off, at 125, of course, the 1 seed Spencer Lee is undefeated on the season, just been completely dominant with a bunch of pins. That one makes sense. But then you got Drew Hilbrand at the 4 and you got Brody Teske at the 5. Don't really understand why they did that, but Spencer Lee should have a pretty easy path to the final. Then on the lower half of the bracket, you got Brandon Courtney at the 3, undefeated guy, Pac-12 champion, and then you got Sam Latona at the 2, guy who a person who I think should be the 4 seed, Jacob Camacho of NC State. Only losses have came to Latona in very close matchups. Camacho definitely should have been a 4 or 5 seed, but it kind of does work in his favor as he has a better path to the finals since he does not have to go up against Spencer Lee. So could see some good matches between Courtney and Camacho, and then Latona will verse the winner of that in the potential semifinal. Then at 133, you got Dayton Fix at the 1 seed, RBY at the 2nd seed, but then you got DeSanto as the 4 seed. Personally, I would have seen DeSanto as the 3 seed, but they decided to put him as the 4 seed, I guess because he lost to RBY. You also got Mickey Filippi, and both those guys, Filippi and DeSanto, have had close matches with Dayton Fix. Dayton Fix only had 2 career losses, and one of those came to Filippi. The other one, I think, came to Suriano. So could see some good matchups between Filippi, DeSanto, and Fix in the upper half of the bracket. Then on the bottom half, like I said, there's an ACC champion in Corbin Myers, who's the 3 seed. Gonna be a good matchup between him and RBY in the potential semifinals. Both guys very good, but I think RBY will probably make the finals against Corbin Myers. And at 141, the seeding here is pretty good. Jaden Ironman is the 1 seed. You got Tariq Wilson, who's the 4 seed, who was an undefeated ACC champion. But then you also got Real Woods, a great wrestler who probably wouldn't even made it into the NCAA championship this year if he hadn't gotten those extra matches, but could get a bunch of upsets as he was ranked in the top 10 last year. On the bottom half of the bracket, you got Nick Lee and Rivera, the 2 and the 3 seed. This weight class really is dominated by the Big Ten, but Rivera, 2-time Big Ten champion. As you know, him and Lee had a very, very close, controversial Big Ten semifinal, so it's going to be good seeing Nick Lee with his huge offense and huge gas tank go up against Rivera one more time. At 149, the 1 seed, of course, Sammy Sasso, really dominant wrestler. Then there's also Bulawan and Ridge Lovett, both guys who really let it fly. Bulawan, who does have a loss to Brock Mahler, is a 3-time Big 12 champion and All-American a few times. And Ridge Lovett, a guy who had a very good win and a really good tournament at the Big Ten, could get some upsets here in this top half of the bracket. On the bottom half, you got Austin O'Connor, the 2 seed, and I think Brock Mahler is the 3 seed. Mahler, a 3-time MAC champion, a guy who has a great offense. Then you also got Austin O'Connor, who last year was the 2 seed as well, and he got third 2 years ago. Austin O'Connor and Brock Mahler, last time they wrestled, I think it was 2 years ago, with Connor getting a 3-2 win. So it could be a good semifinal matchup between these guys. At 157, you got Ryan Deacon. Really is just going to dominate his way through this top half of the bracket. Only person I could see giving him a somewhat of a close match would be Jesse Del Vecchia in the semifinals, but Deacon will probably dominate his way to the finals. Then on the bottom half, you got Hayden Hidley, an All-American 3 times, could be the first NC State 4-time All-American. Then you also got David Carr, who's undefeated on the season, a junior world champ, and just won his 2nd Big 12 title. And this weight class is pretty interesting as the top 4 seeds are the same seeds as last year. Pretty interesting statistic, but David Carr and Hayden Hidley is going to be a great matchup to watch on the lower side of the bracket. At 165, pretty bad seeding here as Mekhi Lewis is the 4 seed. Going to have to go up against Marinelli on the semis most likely. Really would have put him at the 3 seed. I don't know why they put him at the 4 seed, but pretty bad seeding on the part of the NCAA committee. Mekhi does have a win over Marinelli though. When he won his first NCAA title, he had a win over Marinelli as a freshman in the quarterfinals of that tournament. At the bottom half of the bracket, you got Anthony Valencia, who is a 2 seed, really just because he's undefeated. He hasn't really gone up against amazing competition in the Pac-12, so I don't really know why he is a 2 seed. Then at the 3 seed, you got Jake Wenzel. Pretty justified. I would have put him to the 2 seed, put Valencia to the 4, and then Mekhi Lewis at the 3. But Wenzel, a tough wrestler, a guy who handed Mekhi Lewis his only loss earlier on in the season. And then there's also Keegan O'Toole, a big sleeper. A lot of people forget about him. He was a great high school wrestler and has some pretty good wins for Missouri so far this season. Then at 174, it's the 4th Iowa wrestler to get a 1 seed. It's Michael Kemmer, got 3rd and 4th in the past NCAA championships. Then there's also Mikey Labrioli, who's in the top half of the bracket. He had a loss to Starochi, and Kemmer did beat Starochi, so it's probably going to be Kemmer beating Labrioli unless Massal could get a win over Mikey in the quarterfinals. Both guys very good defensive wrestlers, so pretty good matchups we could see in the quarters. The lower half of the bracket, Starocci is not the 2 seed, but actually the 3 seed. Demetrius Romero is actually the 2 seed just because he's undefeated once again. Kind of like the Anthony Valencia situation. I don't really know why he is the 2 seed. Should be Starocci, but it doesn't really matter because those two guys probably will go up against each other in the semifinals. Then at 184, at the top of the bracket, really Aaron Brooks is the best guy there, and no one can really challenge him in this whole entire top half of the bracket. Should have an easy path to the final. On the bottom half, you got Trent Hidley, the younger brother of Hayden, a great wrestler. His only loss is to Hunter Bolin, but he did beat Bolin at the ACC championships. Then you also got Lou Dupree, a EIWA champion. Should meet Trent in the semis in a pretty good matchup. And at 197 on the top half of the bracket, you got an experienced senior in Miles Amin, and you got a very young guy in AJ Ferrari. Amin, a 6-year senior and an Olympian, is going up against true freshman AJ Ferrari. Very tough wrestler who's really rose through the rankings since the start of the season. Going to be a great matchup between the senior and the freshman, and probably the semifinal. On the bottom half of the bracket, you got Norfleet, who's a Pac-12 champion. Could be difficult for Schultz to beat him due to his variety of leg attacks. Then also got Eric Schultz, whose only loss is to Miles Amin. Really underperformed in the Big Ten finals, in my opinion. So should be a good matchup between those guys in the semi. And then finally at heavyweight, top half of the bracket, it's Gable Stevenson. I don't really have to talk about this that much. You guys should understand that Stevenson's just going to dominate his way through this whole entire tournament. On the bottom half, there is Mason Paris, of course, but he should also have an easy path, and those guys should probably meet in the final. Yeah, let's wrap up our video today talking about the NCAA wrestling brackets. If you guys enjoyed, make sure you leave a like, comment down below, and sub for more wrestling content like this.